Story time, story time, story time again. Story time, story time, story time again.
Hi, and welcome to Once Upon a Time, the San Bruno Public Library's cable story time. I'm Miss Susan, and I'll be reading you stories today. I brought some wonderful books today about being kind and helpful. I bet you already are kind and helpful, but maybe these books will give you some new ideas about how to be kind and helpful at home, or at school, or in your neighborhood, or anywhere you happen to be. But before we get to the books, let's sing our welcome song, okay? Here we go. We're glad you're here today. We're glad you're here today. Hi-ho the merry-o. We're glad you're here today. We're glad you're here today. We're glad you're here today. Hi-ho the merry-o. We're glad you're here today. I am glad that you're here today. All right, our first book today is called The Kindness Quilt by Nancy Elizabeth Wallace. One Friday at Sharing Circle, Minna helped Mrs. Bloom hold up a large green book. "I love stories," Minna said. "I do too," said Mrs. Bloom. "I'm going to read an Aesop fable." Mrs. Bloom began reading. The Lion and the Mouse. Long ago, a tiny mouse was scampering through the jungle. By and by, he came upon a great lion, snoozing in the tall grass. The mouse was feeling playful, so he plucked a blade of grass and tickled the lion's nose. "Roar!" roared the lion, grabbing the little mouse in his huge padded paw. "What is this? An afternoon snack?" "Please, please, please don't eat me," begged the mouse. "Someday I will do something nice to help you." "Ha, ha, 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 ha," laughed the lion. "You help me?" But he let the mouse go and fell back to sleep. A few weeks later, the mouse was scurrying home when he heard a terrible roar. And there was his friend trapped in a net. The little mouse gnawed on the ropes with his sharp teeth and set the mighty lion free. When the story ended, Minna sat down. Then Mrs. Bloom asked, "What is the moral of this fable?" I know, said Minna. "It's about kindness. The lion let the mouse go, and later the mouse helped the lion. I think that they both felt happy about being kind." Tyrone said, "It shows you can be kind whether you're little or big." Lindsay said, "We should try to do something kind every day." And Dave said, "I'm kind to Noodles." "Yes," said Mrs. Bloom, "kindness is a good thing for all of us to practice, no matter how big or small we are. I know that you are all very kind. So let's celebrate kindness with a do and draw and share kindness project." I wonder what that's going to be. That night, Minna told Mom, Dad, and Pip, "Mrs. Bloom wants us to do something kind, then make a picture about it, and take the picture into school to share. It's a kind of kindness project." "Well, that's a wonderful idea," said Mom. "But," said Minna, "I'm not sure what to do." "We can help you with ideas," said Dad. And early Saturday morning, before Mom and Dad got up, Minna read to Pip. "Reading me books is a good idea for your kindness picture, Minna," said Pip. Minna nodded. "But," she said, "I'm still thinking." Before lunch, Minna went with Mom to community cleanup day. Picking up litter in the park is being kind to our earth, said Mom. That could be an idea for your kindness picture. Minna nodded. But, she said, I'm still thinking. There they are, picking up all the trash. Later in the afternoon, Minna and Dad cooked creamy carrot soup for supper. And Minna took a big jar to their neighbors. After supper, Minna got a pencil and paper. Kindness, kindness, she whispered to herself. There are lots of kinds of kindness. Dad brought Minna a snack. Oh, a carrot? Yum, said Minna. Sharing the soup with Mr. and Mrs. Checker could be an idea for your kindness picture, said Dad. Minna nodded. But, she said, I'm still thinking. You can use my new markers, said Pip. Thanks. Minna started writing and drawing. And later Mom tiptoed in. She brought Minna scissors and more paper. Minna smiled. Thanks, Mom. And then Minna started cutting. Snip, snip, snip. On Sunday afternoon, Minna looked at what she had written and drawn and cut out. Picking up trash. Sharing soup with your neighbors. My family helping me. Reading books to your little brother. Those are all different kinds of kindnesses. And she cut out hearts and squares and all kinds of pretty paper. Suddenly, Minna knew what she wanted to do. She found her glue stick and went to work. On Monday, Minna took her artwork to school. She listened as Carrie, Tyrone, Kyle, and Lindsay shared pictures of their acts of kindness. Kindness is setting the table without being asked. Kindness is getting your dad his hammer when he's on the ladder. Kindness is sharing your toys. And kindness is cheering for the other team, even when you are the winners. Those are all good ideas about being kind. When it was Minna's turn, she held up her artwork. Oh, said the class. It looks like a beautiful quilt, said Lindsay. Wow, said Tyrone. If you want to, you can make yours look like a quilt too, said Minna. Look, she put her drawings all on the square and then did her beautiful heart in the center. Wow, that was fancy, huh? Great, said Mrs. Bloom. Let's get out the art materials. Kyle, Carrie, Tyrone, Lindsay, since you shared your kindness art today, you can work on your quilt squares, and Minna can help. They cut and glued, and then they taped their acts of kindness together. Wow, look how fancy. And Mrs. Bloom hung the paper quilt on the small bulletin board. You see, there they are. As the days passed, more acts of kindness happened. Maya sent a card, and her square said, Kindness is sending a get-well-soon card. Esteban helped his neighbor, so his square said, Kindness is weeding for Mrs. Garcia. Aman held a door open, so his square said, Kindness is holding the door open for someone. Dave took care of Noodles the fish, so his square said, Feeding Noodles and keeping his bowl clean. That is kind. And the kindness quilt grew until it overflowed the small bulletin board. Mrs. Bloom and the children had to move it to the big bulletin board. Wow. As more days passed, more and more acts of kindness happened. Jadalyn was kind to Keisha, and Keisha was kind to Zach. Zach was kind to AJ, and AJ was kind to Minna. If someone forgets their snack, share. Kindness is saying, your turn. Helping hold the tower for your friend. Showing your friend how to play squiggle is kind. And when the kindness quilt overflowed the big bulletin board, Mr. Cooper helped them hang the quilt on the long wall in the hall. Wow, look how big it's gotten. And soon other classes joined in, like Mr. Graziano's 4th grade. And the kindness kept growing and growing and growing. The end. Wow. Their kindness quilt kept going because everyone else started doing kind things too. Maybe this gave you some ideas of how to be kind. Our next book is all about helping. Can I Help? By Marilyn Janovitz. This will give you some ideas about how to help at home, I think. Can I help you do the mowing? Oh, yes, please help me do the mowing. Can I help you do the hoeing? Yes, please help me with the hoeing. Do the mowing, help with hoeing. Can I help you pull the weeds? Yes, please help me pull the weeds. Oh, can I help you plant the seeds? Yes, please help me plant the seeds. Pull the weeds, plant the seeds, do the mowing, help with hoeing. Can I help you fill the bath? Look, it's for birds. Yes, please help me fill the bath. Can I help you sweep the path? Oh, yes, please help me sweep the path. Fill the bath, sweep the path, pull the weeds, plant the seeds, do the mowing, help with hoeing. Can I help you lift the pail? Yes, please help me lift the pail. Oh no, though, it landed on his tail. Ouch! Can I help you wrap your tail that got an owie? Yes, please help me wrap my tail. Lift the pail, wrap your tail, fill the bath, sweep the path, pull the weeds, plant the seeds, do the mowing, help with hoeing. Can I help you squirt the hose? Yes, please help me squirt the hose. Oh no, it got his papa. Can I help you dry your nose? Yes, please help me dry my nose. Squirt the hose, dry your nose, lift the pail, wrap your tail, fill the bath, sweep the path, pull the weeds, plant the seeds, do the mowing, help with hoeing. Oh, can I climb up on your lap? Yes, please climb up on my lap. We've worked hard. Let's take a nap. The end. That was Can I Help? By Marilyn Janovitz. Well, I hope that these 2 books gave you some good ideas about how you can be helpful and kind at your house or in your neighborhood or anywhere that you might be. Come back and join me in the second half of the show for more books about kindness. Bye-bye. See you soon.
You know the old saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. Well, it may look that way, but when you get up close, it's all weeds and stickers. Those big company TV providers may have great introductory offers, but read the fine print. You have to sign a long-term contract? Do they offer free service calls? And just how high do their rates go after the limited time offer expires? At San Bruno Cable, you sign no long-term contract. Our rates are easy to understand without surprises, and if you experience a problem, we offer free service calls on the next business day. Thank you for choosing San Bruno Cable.
Hello and welcome back to Once Upon a Time, the San Bruno Public Library's cable story time. Today I've brought books about being helpful and kind. I hope you enjoyed the first two. All right, let's get to our next book, which is called The Spiffiest Giant in Town. Wow, look at his big feet, by Julia Donaldson. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town, and he always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched-up gown. "I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town," he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of spiffy clothes, so he bought a spiffy shirt, a spiffy pair of pants, a spiffy belt, a spiffy striped tie, some spiffy socks with diamonds on the sides, and a pair of spiffy shiny shoes. "Now I'm the spiffiest giant in town," he said proudly. George left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the sidewalk stood a giraffe who was sniffing sadly. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my neck," said the giraffe. "It's so very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long, warm scarf." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his striped tie. "It didn't match my socks anyway," he said, as he wound it around and around and around the giraffe's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. "Thank you," said the giraffe. As George strode toward home, he sang to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, but look me up and down, I'm the spiffiest giant in town." George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sail," said the goat. "It blew away in a storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his new white shirt. "It kept coming untucked anyway," he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat. "It made a magnificent sail." "Thank you," said the goat. George strode on, singing to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. But look me up and down, I'm the spiffiest giant in town." But look, he's just in his undershirt now. Oh my goodness. George came to a tiny ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. "What's the matter?" asked George. "Squeak, squeak, it's our house," squeaked the mother mouse. "It burned down and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. "It was giving me blisters anyway," he said, as the mouse and her babies scrambled inside. The shoe made a perfect home for them. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," they squeaked. George had to hop along the road now, because he only had one shoe. But he didn't mind, and as he hopped, he sang to himself, "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. But look me up and down, I'm the spiffiest giant in town." George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox who was crying. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's my sleeping bag," said the fox. "I dropped it in a puddle. Oh, I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag." What do you think George did? "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his socks with the diamonds on the side. "It was tickling my toes anyway," he said, as the fox snuggled inside it. It made a very fine sleeping bag. "Thank you," said the fox. George hopped on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. But look me up and down, I'm the spiffiest giant in town." George came to a big, squishy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's this bog," said the dog. "I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. I wish there was a safe, dry path." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his spiffy new belt. "It was squeezing my tummy anyway," he said, as he laid it down over the bog, and it made an excellent path. "Thank you," said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself. "My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe. My shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. My shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of my socks is a bed for a fox. My belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. But..." "Ah, my pants are falling down! I'm the coldest giant in town!" Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery and not at all spiffy, because his pants were down. He stood on one foot and thought, "I'll have to go back to that shop and buy some more clothes," he decided. He turned around and hopped all the way back to the shop. But when he got there, it was closed. "Oh no," said George. He sank down onto the sidewalk and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. "My gown!" he yelled. "My dear old gown and sandals!" George put them on. They felt wonderfully comfortable. "I'm the coziest giant in town," he cried, and he danced back home along the road. Outside his front door stood all the animals he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. "Come on, George," they said. "Open it." George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. "Look inside the card, George," said the animals. George put on the crown on his head and opened the card. Inside it said, "You gave your scarf to a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town." The end. He was a super kind giant, wasn't he? Oh my goodness. Well, our last book today is called Preschool to the Rescue by Judy Sierra. We'll find out how a preschool can help. Once there was a mud puddle, and it was sleepy. It was creepy, deeper than you'd think. When something went into that mud puddle, the mud puddle didn't want to let go. One afternoon, the pizza man was driving along in his pizza van. "Beep, beep. This mud puddle can't be very deep," said the pizza man, and he drove his pizza van into the sleepy, creepy puddle. "Bad luck, I'm stuck," cried the pizza man. "Police car to the rescue." "Don't scream, don't shout. I'll push you out," said the policewoman. Glorp. The pizza van was stuck in the mud. The police car was stuck in the mud. Stuck in the gluey, gooey mud. "Tow truck to the rescue." "It's a cinch. I'll winch you out," said the tow truck driver. Blurp. The pizza van was stuck in the mud. The police car was stuck in the mud. The tow truck was stuck in the mud. Stuck, yuck, in the muckety muck. Backhoe to the rescue. I'll use my rig to dig you out, said the backhoe driver. Flurp. The pizza van was stuck in the mud. The police car was stuck in the mud. The tow truck was stuck in the mud. The backhoe was stuck in the mud, trapped tight in the mighty mud. Fire engine to the rescue. Quick, get the hose, said the fire captain. We'll spray this icky mud away. Plurp. The pizza van was stuck in the mud. The police car was stuck in the mud. The tow truck was stuck in the mud. The backhoe was stuck in the mud. The fire engine was stuck in the mud. All of them caught in the mighty mud. Preschool to the rescue! And all the children came out. No reason to fuss. Mud can't stop us, said the children. And they went to work with shovels and sand and rocks and bricks and rubber bands and popsicle sticks, digging them out. Get ready, get set, go! The fire engine roared out of the mud. The backhoe chugged out of the mud. The tow truck rolled out of the mud. The police car screeched out of the mud, and the pizza van bounced out of the mud. Everyone shouted, "Hooray, hooray," for the girls and boys who saved the day. But the preschoolers hadn't finished yet. They mixed mud pies and mud cakes and mud muffins and mud cookies and mud pizzas. And that was the end of the sleepy, creepy, deeper than you'd think mud puddle. The end. Preschool to the rescue. Well, I hope you enjoyed all of our songs today about kindness and being helpful, and that it gave you some ideas about how to be kind and helpful at home. Let's sing our goodbye song. Well, it's time to say goodbye to our friends. Well, it's time to say goodbye to our friends. Well, it's time to say goodbye. Make a smile and wave goodbye. Well, it's time to say goodbye to our friends. Bye-bye.
So sit me down and let the spell begin. I'll find myself in story time again.